I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Lee County Board of Education. We have a couple of guests I'd like to introduce. Zach Horner from the press is with us. Glad to have you, Zach. Lori Salafia is with us from the military, and I think Lori has a couple of comments to make.
How is everyone? Good?
Good.
I'm glad. November is, as we all know, month of the military family. The Department of Defense honors our nation and the commitment and the sacrifices that our military families make and the service members. The President has been signing a proclamation for November being designated as the month of the military family since 1996. So I know we all have military members in our schools, and sometimes we kind of take for granted, even myself, they're coming in and out of my office on a daily basis. Just stop for a moment and say thank you for your service. That can make somebody's day. The second thing I'd like to, the Fort Bragg School Liaison Officers and I will present a skit at the Forward March Symposium and Training on November 17th. The skit will provide an overview of resources and state laws applicable to military-connected families. We're kind of going to do a Sally Jesse Raphael interview. We're going to have two school liaison officers play a colonel and a wife, and two of us are going to play the school liaison officers. So we're hoping that we can reach the community and let them know the strengths and challenges of the military. I still think the educators meeting is on for the superintendents and the garrisons and the school liaisons officers on December 8th, 2016. I haven't heard any different. And the Air Force is actually holding a breakfast with Santa on December 16th. Reservations are scheduled in half-hour intervals from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock. We invite families to call the Airmen and Family Readiness Center on the Pope Army Airfield side. The number is 394-2538. Santa, they'll get a free breakfast, full breakfast, sausage, eggs, bacon, the whole thing. Santa will come visit and hand out presents to the children as well as to the families. And lastly, I wanted to let everybody know I'm coming up on my 3rd year. And when I came from overseas, I came as a school liaison officer from a very small community. So when I came to North Carolina, I had a lot to learn. I did not realize the large military community that was in North Carolina. But through the years, through the past couple of years, I realized the importance of the partnership I have to have with the Fort Bragg school liaisons to cover the surrounding counties and over 30,000 military students. So that was a lot for me to grasp. I am now attending state meetings in Raleigh. I'm learning the laws of North Carolina. So it's been amazing. And part of my job, and as I was telling Dr. Lynn Smith, is I have been kind of assigned the lead territory with the permission of the school liaisons from Fort Bragg. That is the reason I attend the board meetings, because we share the notes. There's no way 4 of us can cover all the schools in all the surrounding counties. So with that said, Dr. Bryan, I would like to set up an appointment with you. I will be calling. I have a new proposal. I would like to get my hands on more into the schools, put a face, meet the principals and guidance counselors, and see if there's any way that we can assist them in the future. That is my new goal. So I will be calling you after the Thanksgiving holiday.
Look forward to meeting with you.
Thank you.
I would also like to introduce Billy Sugg, sitting in the back. Billy is here representing Synovia, who will provide GPS systems for our school buses that will be contained in the consent agenda. Welcome to our meeting, Billy. And now, if you'll join me for a moment of silence as we reflect on the activities of the day. Thank you, and if you please stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with affirm.
It is time for public comments, and we do have a public commenter. I would just remind the board that to ensure an orderly presentation and disposition of items, board members will not respond to individuals who address the board except to request clarification of points made by the presenter. Information received during the presentation shall not be acted upon at the meeting it is received. However, the above provision may be waived by a unanimous vote. Public comments shall not interfere with the board's duty to conduct orderly and efficient meetings. Individuals who address the board shall not use language that is obscene, vulgar, contains fighting words, or otherwise disrupts the orderly conduct of business. Discussions regarding particular employees, litigation, student records, or other potentially confidential matters may not be discussed during the public comment session. And our public speaker is Keith Clark. Welcome to the podium.
I'm Keith Clark, 212 Acorn Drive, Sanford, North Carolina. I'm here to talk about the action item pertaining to disclosure of test results to the parents by means of the web page, as I understand it. It's unfortunate. I'm glad it's being done, but it's very unfortunate that it took a federal mandate to do this. It's important that people understand the problems in the schools as they really are. And it's important that they be involved. Now, I stood here and talked about short notice consideration of a school. Had to rush to get it to commissioners, and then it was about 3 or 4 months before they took any real action on it. Public board has said nothing to the public about the investment, the plan, the strategy, the reasons. If you build a 900-person school, you're going to affect attendance zones all across this county. And so, Cameron, you won't have to be here to deal with the reassignment plans. Oh, probably a smart move on your part. So it's very important, and I'd like to ask you to do more than the minimum in this disclosure. I'd like for it to not be like the state site, frankly, which is kind of confusing. You've made great strides in your IT department over the last 6 or 8 years. You ought to be come in and push a button. It ought to be user-friendly. They ought to be able to just click buttons and drill right down. You can actually do that on an Excel spreadsheet, as I'm sure Andy knows, linking one sheet to the other. And there's just no reason. It's not enough to put it out there. It's not going to help you to put it out there. It's not going to help the students to put it out there. And it's not going to help the parents or the teachers if nobody looks at it. And I am concerned about this because your public face doesn't look good sometimes. If you go to find the minutes of the meetings and the filmings, you'll find they're months behind. And it isn't because somebody doesn't want to do their job. It's because transparency has not been a priority. And I hope that it will be, because I think all who serve will find that it will be easier to get things. Because if you got dirty laundry, you need to let people know the laundry's dirty, so they'll support you when you need to buy a washer or dryer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. I'd now like to share the vision statement of Lee County Schools. Lee County Schools, in partnership with the community, will provide challenging learning experiences for students in a safe and supportive environment. We are committed to academic excellence, technological innovations, social responsibility, and lifelong learning. Our success will be demonstrated by the achievement of our students and their positive participation in society. And I would like to remind the board of the code of ethics under which we serve. We must constantly avoid conflicts of interest and appearance of conflicts of interest as we handle the work of the board. We must avoid the solicitation and/or acceptance of gifts in return for advice or assistance on matters concerning the operation of the business of the board. We must avoid the misuse of public funds. We must avoid misrepresentation or falsification of facts and avoid making confidential information public. And the chair will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for November the 15th, 2016.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion concerning tonight's agenda? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The agenda is approved. I'll also entertain a motion to approve the minutes for October the 11th, 2016, and November the 3rd, 2016.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from October 11th, 2016 and November 3rd, 2016.
And is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the minutes as presented? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved. Continuing with Chairman's report, I would like to take just a few minutes tonight to recognize 3 board members who will be leaving our board tonight, and to recognize them for the outstanding job they have done during their tenure. Tamara Brogan has served tirelessly for the past 4 years. I've referred to her more times than I can remember as my ever-ready bunny, always full of energy, and she certainly fits that bill. And she brings dedication every day. She's led a curriculum instruction committee with distinction for the past 4 years. She has been available to serve in any capacity when asked. I know of no one who has given so freely of his or her time for the educational success of the students we serve. And Tamara, on behalf of the board, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for your service. Perhaps we'll see each other politically again soon, and if you would like to address the board, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to say how much of a joy it was to serve for the past 4 years. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved being on the board. I loved working with everybody, the principals, the teachers, administrators, central office. It was a great experience, and I learned a lot. But I'm so excited about where we've come in as a school system, and I was excited to be a part of that. And I know that the schools are in good shape as I'm leaving, and I'm going to do everything I can to continue to stay involved and help the schools any way I can, because I want them to continue to be successful. And I wish the new board lots of luck and great wisdom and vision as they go forward, so we can continue the great improvements that we've made and keep going down this positive road for our schools. But thank you for allowing me to make some comments. I just want to let everyone know that I truly loved working with all of you. I'm truly going to miss it very, very much. It was very dear to my heart to be on this board. It was a very special experience, and it was a very humbling and a great honor experience as well. Great honoring to be able to be on this board. So thank you very much.
Thank you again, Mrs. Brogan. I'd also like to recognize Janice Davis, who could not be here this evening because of a prior commitment. Dr. Davis was appointed to the board in 2014, fulfilling the unexpired term of Mrs. Wendy Carlisle. Dr. Davis brought a knowledge of board activities and responsibilities that have been greatly appreciated. Dr. Davis will be greatly missed, and she sends her condolences for not being able to join us tonight. And then, of course, Cameron Sharp. Cameron and I were elected to the Board of Education in 2008, and we just reminisced about that just a few minutes ago. Seems like light years instead of 8 years, doesn't it, Cameron? He has served as chairman of the Facilities and Technology Committee most recently with great leadership. Cameron has given freely of his time for the betterment of our students. Cameron will be leaving our board by virtue of his election to the Board of County Commissioners. We certainly congratulate him on his political victory and look forward to working with him as a commissioner in the future. Cameron, thank you for your 8 years of service to the Board of Education, and the cooperation that we look for with the commissioners will be much anticipated. Congratulations, and you have the floor if you'd like to make some comments.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Chairman. I'm looking forward to going to the county commission, and I really did enjoy the friendships that we've had for the past 8 years, and And despite what some folks say, I'm proud of what we've done. And we've got momentum going, and I expect the remaining board members to keep that momentum going, and I'm sure they will. I look forward to doing what I can as a county commissioner to help the school system, and now we have to look out for the whole county, but I promise you I will do what I can to help the school system as well, and thanks again.
We know where your heart is.
That's right.
Let's continue with the superintendent's report.
Dr. Smith, if I may just say one word, Dr. Davis and Mr. Sharp and Ms. Brogan, the very best compliment I can give all three of you is you always put children first. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I just want to say something as part of the leadership. It's when you look at the Board of Education, every one of us here come in with different thinking and agenda. When you're coming in, you have an agenda. But when you get to the board, you realize that your agenda have to give way to the agenda that is the board's agenda for the education of these children in the proper way. And I can remember when I came on this board, just like Cameron and Tamra, it's a lot of people and a lot of different leadership, and at that time we have all to put together for the fact that we were coming from different party affiliation, but we realized what's before us is a big situation, and we all pull together to do what we need to do to be pulling this school system forward. So I want to say to Tamra, we really appreciate what you've done on this board, and to Cameron, we appreciate when we call on, in leadership, when we call on any of them about what's important for this school system, because they know what we know and what we knew, they all say we are in with you, irrespective of what they think the reprisal will be in the community, because they're looking out for the children of this county. So I want to say thank you on behalf of the board too, and everyone. We really appreciate what you're doing, and we hope we will see you again, Tamra, in the community and on some elected board. You're still young, so. And then for Cameron Sharp, I will definitely miss my buddy and my friend. We're very close, and we're political friends, and we're still personal friends. That's what we are, and we keep working together to move this community forward. So every one of us on this board, none of us are enemies. We are all friends. We can have what do you call it, electoral debate and things, but we are all friends and we are one. So working for the progress of the children of this county. So I want to say thank you for your service, both of you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to add to that I did enjoy working with the board as well. You know, it was a great experience, and you're right. We're all friends. We all collaborated very well together, and that was a great experience. I enjoyed serving with all of you as well, and serving, you know, this whole school district, and it was just a great experience.
Thank you.
Are there other comments? Hearing none, let's continue with the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to ask Mr. Dale Smith come forward, please. This was presented at committee, the audit report for the school district. I know Mr. Smith's going to take us through the report and what his company found.
All right. Good evening, board members, Dr. Bryan. We've completed our audit of the board's records for the year ended June 30th, 2016, and I believe each of you have received a bound copy of our audit report. And within those audited financial statements, there are a total of 4 audit opinion letters that we issued that relate to the various aspects of the district's finances that we're required to report on. On page 1 of the report is our financial statement opinion letter, which is a clean, unmodified opinion. And this simply means that we feel the numbers that are presented in the report are reliable and free from any material misstatements. And starting on page 51 of the report, there are 3 additional letters that we issued which relate to our compliance testing over the board's internal controls and expenditure of state and federal grant awards that the district receives. And all three of those letters are also clean, unmodified opinions, which this basically means that there were no internal control weaknesses, no findings, and no question costs reported in any of those letters. So basically these letters let you know that we didn't note any improper use of grant funds, and that we feel the district's finances appear to have been expended properly and in accordance with the budgets that have been approved by the Board of Education. Now, within the report, in regards to the board's fund balances as of year end, all of the board's major funds, the general fund, child nutrition, capital outlay, fund balances, and all of those funds were found to be adequate as of June 30th, 2016 as well. And overall, the district appears to be in good financial condition as of June 30th, 2016. So, I mean, again, from an audit perspective, we were very pleased with what we saw, both financially and on the compliance side as well, which I think is reflected in the report we've issued. Did anyone have any specific questions? I didn't plan to go into detail on anything in the report, but be glad to answer any questions anyone has.
I know that Finance Committee has already seen this report and seen Dale's information. I didn't know if the chair and vice chair wanted to say anything in regards to that.
I'll defer to the chair.
I just want to say that we just got same clean report that we always get, and we want to give credit to our staff on finance team. They've done a good job. We continue to get awards, so we're not surprised that we have a clean bill of health with the audit, and that's what we're always striving for. We're striving to be in good shape and excellent. And I want to say that the work that our staff continue to do reflects from what we see on the audit report. So I want to say thank you, Dale, for coming around to check behind us and see that the work we gave them to do, they are doing a good job for that.
Well, they are. I'd like to thank Ms. Jones and her staff as well. We audit quite a few districts across the state, and y'all have got a really top-notch finance department. I know that y'all recognize during the year different awards that they get. Maybe sometimes you don't quite understand everything those awards mean, but I know one of the awards they get from DPI, I think only 12 districts in the state receive that, and that award in particular means that the finances are being managed and dollars are being maximized, and a lot of effort goes into getting that award, which is evidenced by the fact that only 12 finance officers in the state go to the trouble that it takes to get that award. So, I mean, y'all really do have a well-run finance department.
If I can dovetail off of that, what is it, 18 years running that we've won consistent awards from
Yes.
various and sundry accreditation agencies. And I think one thing that is worthy of saying with that is that means in 18 years, superintendents come and go, boards change, leadership changes, the finance office leadership changes, but that the efficacy doesn't. That there's not been a decline in the management, and people come and go, but the finances need to remain stable. That's what keeps you out of the news,
That is
and
true.
that's what keeps you out of jail. And two places we want to stay as much as possible. And so I think it goes with to say that we have stability, we have good management, and Ms. Jones has come in this year, not new, but new to her position, and she's done a phenomenal job stepping up to that position, and all of the accounts and all of the special requirements for each budget allocation area. I just think that it's impressive, and Mr. Smith here has consistently come to our board and answered my 1,000,001 questions that help me to understand what's going on the financial committee, and so that's appreciated as well. So.
And that's true when you think of it. Every time they brought something to us, money to spend on the finance committee, despite what people say out there, this board look out for money that we spend on everything. We take pencils. Since you came on, we take pencils, and the same thing before she came on, we take pencils and be asking questions, and give us satisfaction before we sign on anything. So you guys are doing a good job on the Finance Committee, and we want to say thank you for coming to give us this report that is really a good report.
Thank you.
Anyone else? With your permission, Dr. Smith, I'm going to ask Dale to remain at the podium. Also going to ask Ms. Jones to come forward, please, for a second item that's on my report tonight, and also an item under new business that we will be asking for your action on tonight. This also went through committee last night. Chair and Vice Chair of the Finance Committee listened to this last night and understand where we are. And I'm going to ask Dale to make a few comments here in just a few minutes, but I'm going to try to give an overview of what I'm going to be discussing. Each year, poorer school districts across the state receive low wealth funding, which is state funding. And that state funding is meant to level the playing field for districts that are poorer versus districts that have more funding. So it's a complicated formula where districts can ebb and flow a little bit, and there's also a chart that indicates whether school districts receive low wealth funding or not. And that low wealth funding is dependent upon, in sort of a strange way, what happened 3 years before from local current expense. Because one of the things that's in the formula in regards to school districts and counties, the state wants to ensure that if a county is truly poor, they want to make sure that the county is continuing their maintenance of effort to support the schools with finances. So we received a chart recently that helps us project out whether we receive low wealth or not. This year's low wealth for for 16-17 came in as normal and at almost the same level. However, Kelly was making some projections on what that would look like in the fiscal year 17-18. And what we did is we plugged in the local current expense from 14-15, which at the time was $15,338,000 roughly. And when that number was plugged in for the 17-18 fiscal year, it came up as supplanting, meaning that enough money had not been given in local current expense from the county to the schools. So Kelly, being the great finance officer that she is, made a phone call to the Department of Public Instruction, and then also sought their advice on how to remedy this. Also made a call to Dale in regards to this issue, and have come up with a way to alleviate the problem. I'm gonna stop right there for a second. Dale and Kelly, have any comments you'd like to make up until that point? Because I'm going to go into the solution here in just a minute. But
I think you've done a good job
okay.
explaining.
And before that, I want to say something that a lot of people don't know, because we, as a Board of Education, we don't have a taxing authority. So whatever they give to us is what we have.
Right. That's a great point, Mr. Akinacho. The remedy for this, and let me give you what sort of the choices are here. Low wealth accounts for about approximately $2.4 million to the school district from the state. And we use that funding for, among other things, funding teachers. And there are other items in there as well, but teachers is a large chunk of that. So the state recommended to us that we request from the county approximately $42,000 from the county that could be applied retroactively as an appropriation allocation for fiscal year 14-15, and it would apply to the fiscal year 15-16 financial statements. In return, that would make us non-supplant for the fiscal year 17-18 which would then allow us, in turn, to get our low wealth funding of $2.4 million. So in essence, it's a trade-off of $42,000 for $2.4 million in fiscal year 17-18. I'm gonna go to Dale from here, because at that point, as we talked this through with Dale wanted to make a phone call to the Local Government Commission to ensure that this was the accurate way to handle it and deal with it.
And the Local Government Commission, they basically said that whatever BPI wants, says has to be done for the Board of Education to keep the $2.4 million and to stay compliant with the maintenance of effort requirements, that would be fine. We've already issued the financial statements, and we would be required to go back and change the financial statements to add on this additional $41,000 of income. And the Local Government Commission has said that's fine, do whatever it takes, and just resubmit the financial statements once both boards have approved this transaction. And hopefully that will occur. Both boards will approve it, and y'all will get the $41,000. We will resubmit the financial statements to the Local Government Commission at that point, going back and reflecting your fund balance as if you had this $42,000 amount at the beginning of the year, and at that point, y'all should be able to receive your $2.4 million in fiscal year 17-18.
Mr. Superintendent, I just want to make a comment. The amount of $42,000 that they're asking, we are discussing right now, is a deficit to meet the threshold that we were supposed to be in 2014. The county did not give us enough money to meet the threshold to be able to be qualified for $2.4 million. So we are asking them now to go back and give us $42,000 in order to meet the threshold to be qualified for $2.4 million, which is 27 school employees. If we crunch the number like you crunch for us, it will be 27 school teachers that we have to eliminate if we don't have $2.4 million from the state government. So,
and as this projects out, you have to take into account the amount of local appropriation, also ADM, average daily membership from schools. So I've already had this conversation with the county manager. Dale was part of that conversation as well, and also Kelly and the finance director for the county. So he is aware of this and knows that the request will be coming to them. So that is the summary of what is on new business tonight, number 3 under new business. But I want to open the floor for you all if you have any questions or if there's something we haven't explained with this.
Just one point. The ADM comment means we got more students.
Yeah.
So that's a part of that equation. So our enrollment went up, and that reflects it as well as the amount we were funded, correct?
And it's a complex formula as you sort of dive into this and see how much low wealth money you receive and what is dependent upon, and also the chart that's used to determine this. So Kelly did a great job in projecting this out, and also working with DPI and Dale with Local Government Commission to find a solution for this, so that hopefully this can be taken care of.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say thank you to Dale and Kelly for your hard work on this, and Kelly, thank you for finding this. So we can work on a solution so we can get the $2.7 million, and I want to thank the commissioners for working with us on this as well. So I'm glad that we discovered the issue and that we're coming up with a solution, because $2.4 million is a lot of money. And as Mr. Akinosho said, that's a lot of, personnel, and I want to make sure that we, get it for our students, because of course I want what's best for our students and our schools, and you have to have adequate funding for that to happen. So thank you so much for your hard work on this.
And just 2 things, just to people up. This was the local appropriation that was passed by the commissioners in June of 2014.
Right.
June of 2014. And Dale, we are not the only school district that's had to deal with something like this before. I think you have a couple of other examples.
Yes, yeah. Hope County and Montgomery County both have gone through this within the past 5 or 6 years. And theirs were much bigger dollars that had to be repaid. I think Montgomery County was around $800,000 that the county had to pay back to the Board of Education. Hope was somewhere in the $200,000 range. So 41,000 is a much smaller number that y'all are having to deal with compared to what they went through. So it's something to be thankful for.
And also, Mr. Smith is what do you call it? He's an auditor. He works for a private firm. He's not our staff, so he's not here trying to do our bidding. He has a license on the line. He's just advising us on what we need to do. So we want to make it clear that Mr. Dale is our auditor and is helping, and Mr. Smith, Dale Smith, is helping us to get through this as much as we can. So I want to make that clear to the to whoever is listening.
Yeah, this isn't just trying to get 41,000 out of the county. This, in both of the instances I saw in Hoke and Montgomery County, those counties went to much further efforts to get out of having to pay those funds, and they couldn't. It has to be done. It's a maintenance of effort requirement that has to be met in order to get the low wealth funding, and it's that simple. And they both had to pay. So,
Mr. Smith, can you tell the public, you have several school systems that your company audits, right?
right.
Okay. So we're not the only client he has. We have our school is just one of the school systems that your firm audits, right?
Any other questions? Thoughts? Like I said, this will be item number 3 under new business that the board will consider. And I'd like to thank Dale and Kelly for coming to the podium to help us explain all this. So, thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to ask Dr. Jim Atkinson to come forward for our Clean School of the Month Award.
I'd like to say good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
And again, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to present the Clean School of the Month Award. And for the first time this year, it goes to Sand Lee Middle School. They've won in the past, but I'd like to have Ms. Bridges and Ms. Durr to come forward and accept the award. And while they're coming, I'd like to say it was printed that all 15 of our schools did score at least 90. I think 10 scored 95, so we're still working to try to keep all of our schools clean. So at this time, I turn it over to Ms. Bridges.
Thank you. I really appreciate the acknowledgement of Sand Lee Middle School. Come on up. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Durr because Ms. Durr is in charge of our custodian team, and she has really worked hard with them. It is a hard time to be here at night for our custodians. They start their day before 6 a.m. picking up children on the buses. And so we're lucky to have Miss Alice. I'm going to have Miss Alice McKeever. Yeah, you don't just stand up here with me, Alice. Alice McKeever is one of our wonderful custodians that are here. And if you come through our front office or in my media center or in our PLC room, that's Miss Alice's area. So she does an awesome job. So I'm going to turn things over to Miss Durr.
Thank you again for acknowledging our team. It is truly a team effort. They are a pleasure to work with, and the way that they come together and what they do for our school building is only just a small portion of what they do for our school. They are in touch with our kids. They are the first contact on those buses in the morning that they have with our students, and they are communicating with us constantly. They're the ones that overhear, when kids are having a bad time or maybe going to do something that they're not supposed to do, and they're right there. And they're just a very well-respected part of our team. Thank you.
Now, one of my favorite times of each board meeting, Superintendent's Extra Effort Award. I'd like to recognize two folks tonight. First off, I'd like to ask Ms. Sharon Baldwin to come forward, please. Sharon is one of our outstanding folks in our finance department, but we're recognizing her tonight for her outstanding effort. For any employees in the audience, you know, each year signing up and doing all the things you need to do to get your health insurance taken care of is a really big deal because it's I don't know how else to say it. It's a really complicated process to sign up for it and to make sure you're covered with insurance. I've never seen anybody make so many phone calls to make sure that staff members had done exactly what they needed to do, and even when staff members thought they had done what they needed to do, she double checked behind them, including this one, and I think just did an outstanding job. Went way beyond the call of duty to help folks throughout the district. I've heard a number of people say to me how much they appreciate that. So I just want to recognize Sharon for the Extra Effort Award, and she will get to have her picture taken with the board.
Get to or have to, that's the question.
Congratulations.
Sharon, you need to be kind of in the middle over here because we need to get it so we don't get COVID minutes. Be careful, don't trip. Yes, please don't trip.
The other person I'd like to recognize tonight, someone everybody's very familiar with, Mary Holly Oates. Would you like to come forward, please? I've got a lot of Mary Holly Oates stories, but one I'll tell tonight. The very first time I met Mary Holly Oates, she knows what I'm going to say. Her house was on fire. and this is classic Mary Holly Oates. She's standing out there in front of her house, fire trucks and all kinds of things going on, smoke all over the place. And I had just gotten to Sanford. I probably had been here a week maybe. Her house is sitting there on fire. Mary Holly Oates looks at me and says, "Well, if there's ever anything you need, you just let me know."
That's Miss Mary.
That's Mary Holly Oates. And tonight I'd just like to recognize her for her extra effort. And who hasn't she helped in Lee County and Lee County schools? And but specifically, I'd just like to thank her for extra effort for the health fair she puts together every year. All the vendors and all the folks show up to provide a great service to the community and our employees. And people always kind of walk out there and they say, "Well, how did this happen? How did all these people come together?" And you know, anybody who knows it's Mary Holly Oates. And I just want to thank you for everything you do for our community and for our schools. And you're not only a great asset to our schools, but you're a dear friend. And thank you.
Scoot that way just
retire, because I'm almost at 36 years. And I keep saying, as long as it's worth coming to work every day, I'm just going to keep coming to work every day. And working with the folks that I work with, it makes it worth getting up and seeing the children and doing the things that we do and getting the support that I get from both the board and administration makes it worth getting up and fighting those battles each day, or seeing the kids and knowing I can make a difference for them. It's worth getting up, and so I appreciate all of your support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sharon, Mary Holly, thank you again. Thanks for everything you do. Finally, accountability update. We are in the middle of benchmark testing for the analyzing results, meeting with middle school principals about results. We've got some meetings coming up with them, and also at the high schools as well. We've also given some benchmarks for ACT, not only pre-ACT for our 10th graders, but also for a practice ACT test for our juniors. And those results are being analyzed and will be given back to us very soon. We'll be going over all those results with principals and teachers as needed. And we also have some professional development in January that will be occurring for our high school teachers in regards to the ACT. So we're excited about that, on target with things, and excited about our progress.
I have a question. You said the ACT benchmark, you practice for juniors, and what was it for sophomores?
Pre-ACT for sophomores, and ACT practice test, and an actual ACT practice test that we gave to juniors.
Okay.
That concludes my report. Dr. Smith.
Thank you, Dr. Bryan. Let's now continue with committee reports. Curriculum instruction, Mrs. Brogan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My report's going to be rather brief this evening. There was 2 meetings we had for curriculum instruction since the last board meeting. The middle school curriculum instruction committee meeting met on October 26th, and we discussed school improvement plans for the middle schools, and they will be coming up to the full board here real soon. And also we had the elementary curriculum instruction committee meeting on November 2nd, and as well at that meeting we also went over school improvement plans for the elementary schools, and that will be coming up to the full board as well. And high school will be meeting for curriculum instruction on December 7th, and they will be doing school improvement plans. So it's all school improvement plans right now. But I do want to say good job to all the schools for putting those together. Those schools improvement plans is a lot of work putting those together, and they're putting together data, and they're putting together areas where they want to improve and areas that they're doing very well. And so they go over with the committee, what their strengths are, their weaknesses, what they hope to address during the school year, and data from last year as well. So it's a very informative meeting, and I just want to thank you, the schools, for putting that all together, because I know it takes a lot of time to put that together and get that, reports together and give them to us. So I know a lot of thought and effort goes into that throughout the schools. So I just want to say thank you for their hard work and dedication to doing that. And I wish them well with their school improvements throughout the year. I won't be here next spring to see the completion of it, but I'm very impressed with their plans that they had laid out for the year so far. I'm sure high school will be awesome as well, but the middle elementary schools have done well so far with their plans, very well thought out, so I wish them well with that. And they're very detailed and meticulous, so I just want to say good job to them.
Thank you,
That's in
Mrs.
my
Brogan.
report.
And just to add a note to that, I sat in on those, and in years past, we at the board were presented with 16 3-inch notebooks, school improvement plans, as if we were supposed to read them and understand it, and it was just, pages and pages and pages of numbers, and I can assure you we didn't get much out of it. But recently, and I think Mr. Conway has played a large role in this, the principals are creative. They make it so I understand it. If I understand, anybody can understand it. And it's a pleasure. They're realistic with their projections. They're honest with their shortcomings that we need to solve. And I'd just like to thank all of our principals and the leadership, Mr. Conway in particular, for making that really understandable. And thanks to your committee for doing such a nice job.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And also, I want to add to that I enjoy that they put it in that format because, like you said, it's very easy for us to understand and follow. But I'm glad that they do these school improvement plans as a board. It's great for us to be familiar with them and know what their plans are, and for their improvements for every school, so that we can help them make that come to realism. Make it happen, so to speak. As a board, we can work with the schools and with their school improvement plans to help them reach their goals for their school improvement plan. So I think it's very knowledgeable for us as a board to really look at those plans and get familiar with them so that we can help them reach their goals.
Let's continue with facilities and technology. Mr. Sharp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our last meeting was October 25th. The school system's still talking with American South about a possible purchase of property around BT Bullock. We looked at some canopy bids and roofing bids for FL Floydale Knight and Lee Early College. Those are on tonight's consent agenda. And we talked about upgrades for the softball field, and I think that's pretty much complete, or
It is.
from what I
For
can see, it looks.
the parking lot.
Yeah, the parking lot
Yep,
part, yes,
yep.
yes. And that was it, and our next meeting is the 29th of this month.
And once again, we'll certainly miss your leadership on F&T, Mr. Sharp. Let's continue with finance.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say something. I'm so glad that Cameron and the superintendent got the deal done with the track field in Southern Lee before he leaves, because I was on his case all the time about that. So I'm glad they finished it before he moves on. Thank you.
And why don't you continue with the finance report, Mr. Akinosha?
Mr. Chairman, the superintendent have taken most of what we have to tell you, but one of the things that we want to tell you about is the financial report. You've seen it. The other one is the purchase of GPS for our buses, and I think the company is here tonight to make a presentation to us about that. Mr. Kego, you're here with your men. I asked them to come to the meeting so that they can present to you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We're recommending that we use Synovia Solutions. We piloted a lot of programs and a lot of different companies. We created a list of what we would like to have on GPS systems for buses, and this company, Synovia, meets every one of them. Not only that, they actually do over 60 counties in North Carolina, so they're well represented in North Carolina. So we ask that this will be something that we can use for safety, not just to keep tabs on drivers, but that we can actually watch routes and know where our drivers are. Are there any questions that I can help?
I have a question. So the motivating factor behind the purchase of these is, in your opinion, is it safety of the children? Is that what's going into having this, going forward with this?
No doubt, yes, ma'am. This way we can tell where our buses are if we need to get up with them. There's two-way messaging that we can use on this system. Plus we know when they dropped the child off, where they made the bus stop, exactly what time it was there. So there's a lot of benefits to having GPS systems.
Okay.
This is not something that we jumped into. We've been looking at this for over 2 years, I think, real hard before that, but I'm kind of hard-headed on that stuff. I want to make sure that it was right, and so we are pleased to recommend this company.
And also read the recommendation we're bringing to the board. Ms. Bowen and myself, we look at several companies, and the company that we decided to go with from the recommendation is the company that we feel is financially, and we get the buck for our money. So that's why we're doing that based on the recommendation of KEGO. We look at everyone before we make a choice. We didn't push any company on us. We look at what the differences are from their GPS system, and this one stood out. and both of us decided that we will recommend them to the board so that the whole board can hear about it and make a final decision.
Are there any other questions?
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
You're saying the GPS will be able to track the time that the student gets on and get off?
Yes, ma'am.
How does that work?
It shows where each bus stop is at. And we can add to that where students can use a card reader on the bus, but we have not gone to that part of it. That is going to be installed, but we're not paying for that now. There's things called Here Comes the Bus, where parents can log in on an app and see that part. We're not convinced that that's one of the best ways to go right now, but we are looking at that. But it actually shows on a map where the bus has been compared to the actual bus route that we've got planned for it.
So if parents are suggesting, or if there's enough feedback that they want to have that particular app, was that something you revisit at a later date?
Yes, ma'am. But we do have the capability of that with this system. A lot of systems did not have that. We looked at probably 8 systems altogether.
One of the things I remember us talking about is that it has the mapping capabilities, like with the storms and the floods and the everything, where buses, at this point in time, you depend upon a bus driver knowing an alternate route to try to get around a circumstance, whereas this has overlaid maps where someone at the system office can redirect, reestablish it's really kind of a neat system, but it's primarily for safety, and at the same time it has a messaging capability. You know exactly where that bus is. God forbid there be a medical emergency with the driver and the children not have a means to communicate. The bus can communicate with Central to let it know where that bus is and where the emergency is. I mean, to me, that was a really big deciding factor, is knowing that it was functional in the absence of another cell phone, another device, that it could, locate it. What I'm trying to say.
And also it has, with the GPS capability also, from what we saw there, it lets you know, we don't pray for accident. In case there is an accident, we can track what's the mileage, how fast the bus is going.
Yes, sir.
Instead of somebody lying and saying something, we can track that. Of course, we don't want to capitalize on that, but we know what's going on with it.
There's a lot of reports that we can have actually automatically sent to an email that we can look at and say that this bus is idling too long, and that's a fuel savings that we can look at. So and then there's routes that we can look at it's easier to look at that
Make
than
it
it is to
efficient.
follow that bus and see where it is. Or we have a lot of calls that a bus might be in a location and it's not actually our bus. It could be a bus from a charter school. And we can look real quick instead of looking around for 3 buses and looking at the camera systems and their GPS part, which is a passive GPS. This is a live GPS system. But I spent an hour looking just this past week where somebody said we hit a mailbox and it was not one of our buses. But I could have looked 5 minutes and found out our bus did not go down that road. So there's a lot of savings that GPS systems can utilize.
I have a question about the $58,668. Is that going to cover all of our buses throughout the district with
It
this?
is. Activity buses included.
Okay, so
Spare
it's-
buses.
okay.
All that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so everybody's covered. Okay, good.
That's right.
You did say activity buses will have
Yes,
this
ma'am.
GPS on?
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. And spare
And that
buses.
would be something across North Carolina. Mr. Suggs is with the company, and he actually a retired transportation director from Johnston County, so he's very familiar with transportation. But activity buses, we can do that across North Carolina, wherever they're at.
Or out of state.
Out of state.
Travel out of state.
So that's another plus too, that if we've got late games, that we can have an idea where our buses are at too.
Any further questions for Mr. Cagle?
Thank you, Reed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's continue with policy. Mrs. Bowen, please. And I might add, I sat in on the policy committee, and
You
we
regret
worked-
that now, don't you?
We worked well into the night to get this
We
done.
did. This was one of our longest policy meetings to date. We met, I wrote down November 1st, but that seems odd to me. Somebody might have to double check that date on me, but nonetheless, we went through about 45 different policies. I can't say all of them. Most of them necessitated by change in state law or federal law. We have the Every Student Succeeds Act and the Elementary Secondary Education Act. So that's the ESSA and the ESEA, gotta love acronyms, that have necessitated changes, some of them substantive changes in what we report out to the public, some of them seemingly perfunctory changes in just the way we refer to things. We no longer say parental involvement in schools, we say family engagement in schools. Not sure why we had to have an act to tell us that, but nonetheless, a lot of the changes that we had were a matter of changing the language and how we communicate to the public. But we have many policies on for first reading this evening. We also had one other item on our agenda that was an amendment to our Memorandum of Understanding with the SROs, requested by the commissioners, negotiated through the commissioners, the SRO, the sheriff, and then ourselves. It's a very simple amendment to our Memorandum of Understanding saying that there will be an attempt to increase collaboration and communication between the superintendent, the sheriff's office, and the SROs. And so those are the two items we have on, one under the consent agenda and the other under first reading new business. Our next meeting was originally scheduled for 22 November. That meeting has been postponed. We may have to call one, but we don't anticipate having to meet again until December 15th, 2016. And that concludes my report.
And thank you for not reading all those policies. I'll ask you to do that in just a few minutes.
Yeah, I won't read them aloud for you. I'll just read their code.
Thanks. Thank you, Mrs. Bowen. I will now entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on anything contained in the consent agenda? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The consent agenda is approved. We have no unfinished business, so let's proceed with new business. The first item is the 2016-2017 budget reconciliation. And Mrs. Jones is here to answer any questions that the board may have concerning the reconciliation of our budget.
You will see in the reconciled budget document that each fund is listed separately. The last tab, which is the uniform budget, and that summarizes the total budget for the 16-17 school year. That does not include the other restricted funds because those are specific, and which is Fund 8. Which is an additional $1.8 million, and so that the grand total of the reconciled budget is $92.3 million. So I ask that the board, if you have any questions.
Any questions for Mrs. Jones? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the budget reconciliation?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The budget reconciliation is approved. Thank you, Kelly, as usual. And now we can proceed with policies. The first reading, part 1, 2, and 3. Mrs. Bowen, you're on the stand.
I will not read these aloud to you in their entirety. It makes a stack about like this. However, we did go through these quite thoroughly, and hence the motion. I move that the Lee County Board of Education approve the first reading of the following policies. Policy 1310/4002, Policy 1320/3560, Policy 1400, 1800, 2010, 2220, 3225/4312/7320, Policy 3320, 3460, 3460 R, and 3620, 4003, 4040/7310, 4100, 4110, 4120, 4125, 4135, 4150, 4333, 4335, 4700, 5000, 5022, 5027/7275, Policy 6306, 6524, 7130, 7130R, 7241, 7425, 7430, 7720, 7810, 7811, 7820, Policy 9110, and Policy 9400.
And would you like to put that in the form of a motion?
I move that we approve the preceding list of policies upon first reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on these policies? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motions is approved to list these policies for first reading. And our third item under new business concerns the low wealth funding. And is there a motion to approve the low wealth funding, and then we can reopen for discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the low wealth funding that was discussed earlier.
Is there a second?
Second.
The floor is now open for discussion. The motion's in front of you. We've heard from the auditor and our finance officer. Are there any further questions or clarification for this issue? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. The motion carries. We will forward this to the county commissioners for their action. And Mr. Akinosho, if you would like to make this motion, we can proceed with the closed session portion of our meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move that the Lee County Board of Education go into closed session for the purpose of discussing information that is privileged, confidential, or not a public record under NCGS Section 143.318.11, bracket A, bracket 1.
And is there a second to that motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. We will we'll adjourn for closed session. Thank you. We are back in open session. The first item we need to tend to is to approve a contract for Patricia Williams, assistant principal at Wesley Middle. It'll be a 2-year contract from 2016 to 2019. Is there a motion to approve this contract?
I make a motion we approve the contract of the assistant principal.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The second item we need to approve is the Human Resources Report as presented by Mr. Conway. If there's a motion. Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
The Human Resources Report is approved. And if there's a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned.